Life is full of cycles. You've got stuff like the rain cycle, the reproductive cycle, the bouncing back and forth between being attracted to girls and being attracted to boys, also known as the bi cycle, but no cycle is more infamous than the Pokemon cycle. For a game series about evolution and making permanent forward changes, us Pokemon fans are shockingly good at making no progress whatsoever. Historically, if you look at the release of Pokemon games, you'll notice a pattern. Fans will hype up a new remake and work themselves into a frenzy for years until finally an announcement trailer is released. We'll then complain about the game for one reason or another until it releases, at which point we all go out and buy it and act like we never hated it. And while I do have my complaints with the recently announced Gen 4 remakes, particularly with the fact that it looks like someone modded My Sims Kingdom to have turn-based combat, I'm not really concerned with those games. I can't help but look ahead to the next games doomed to be tied down to the tracks of the hype train, Gen 5. The thing is, these are games that I genuinely believe are deserving of remakes, as they came at a time when Game Freak was at their most creative and most daring, and as a result, are some of the most ambitious, entertaining Pokemon games that we've seen to date. And because the last time these games released, we effectively killed them on arrival and ensured we wouldn't get a Pokemon game that tried anything new for at least a decade. By the time the 5th generation of Pokemon had started development, Game Freak was kinda at a loss with where to take the series next. Since the series' launch in 1996, each succeeding title worked to improve upon the formula set by the first generation by adding more and more features, like the addition of gender equality in the second generation. But by now, Pokemon had been around for almost 15 years, and the developers felt as though their last generation was their penultimate game. They didn't think that there was much more that could be brought to the series, and to a degree, they were kinda right. Gen 4 had almost everything that a Pokemon fan could have ever dreamed of, like girls, and subterranean mazes, I guess? I don't know. The point is, they didn't really know where to take the series, and they didn't really know who to make it for either. Like I said, by 2010, the series had been around for nearly 15 years, which meant that the game's core audience had grown up quite a bit. Mentally, not emotionally. Series director Junichi Masuda expressed these concerns best when he said, "Tomurokoshi ga taberarenai, onaka ga itai desu," which basically means that he was worried that Pokemon fans felt as though they had graduated from the Pokemon games. He wanted to make sure that all ages could feel welcome with the games. All of these issues led the developers to emphasize creating a fresh new experience to appeal to all members of the audience, regardless of age. One which would be able to stand out distinctly when compared to past games. Innovation became Black and White's core. Game Freak wanted Black and White to be a new beginning, a new era for the Pokemon franchise, and to do this, they chose to change as much of the Pokemon formula as possible. In the past, Pokemon games featured a new region with some new Pokemon, and were generally lackluster in the plot department. Generation 5 wanted to change all of that, starting with the region. Up until now, regions were exclusively based off of a prefecture in Japan, like the Kanto region, which was based off of the Kanto region. Unova was the first mainline region to be based off of a non-Japanese area, being instead based off of New York City, the City of Dreams. This new region felt not only unique, but also alive thanks to the use of 3D software, which allowed for more cinematic shots and camera angles. Gen 5 also introduced the idea of animating Pokemon sprites during the battle to create a more lifelike appearance. And yeah, they kinda look like they were animated using Pivot, but that's better than what we've got now. New Pokemon move like they're on 400 milligrams of Thorazine. Not only were the graphics good, but the music was incredible. You had your a little bit of, and for those emotional moments, they hit you with that. It was a masterpiece, but Game Freak wasn't gonna stop there. To keep in line with this being a new beginning for the franchise, they took on the daunting task of designing a completely new Pokédex, featuring 156 new Pokémon, with many of them being designed after the original 151. This game had your classic rat Pokemon, your bat, your bird with 2 evolutions, your rock with 2 evolutions, your flaming anteater. I'm not really sure what this thing is, and I'm definitely not sure why they gave it weird penile pipes. This decision to do a soft reboot of the Gen 1 decks was likely made to appeal to older fans who held Red and Blue so closely to their hearts. Finally, Black and White pursued something that no Pokemon game had ever tried before: a good plot. Before this point, Pokemon games had next to no plot. I was 6 years old when I picked up my first copy of Leaf Green, and I could barely read at that point. I thought that the point of Pokemon was to get as far as you could in one sitting because I didn't understand the fact that there was a save feature. That said, I understood the plot of that game perfectly. Catch the Pokemon, beat the Mafia. It's simple child stuff. Black and White took a different approach. No longer would we have boring villains who committed evil acts for the sake of being evil like Don Corleone over here. Instead, we would have thought-provoking villains who made you question your own ideals. Pokemon had always been about catching and befriending Pokemon, so when this freak with green hair who speaks like an undergrad student who took one intro to philosophy class shows up and starts asking if your Pokemon actually want to be captured or be your friends, everything gets thrown out the window. I remember getting to this part of the game and reading that and just experiencing intense cognitive dissonance as an 11-year-old. No longer were the games just about dueling Pokemon. They were now about dueling ideals too. Gen 5 was easily one of Game Freak's most ambitious and interesting titles. It felt like one big love letter to Pokemon fans of all ages. Too bad nobody bought the f***ing game. Yeah, so despite the game being Game Freak's most ambitious title yet, fans were just not happy with the series at the time. They were upset that the region felt different, and they were upset that the old Pokemon weren't available until the post-game. This led to people developing a disdain for the new Pokemon. Many accused them of being simple rehashes of old ones, mistaking what was intended to be an endearing homage as laziness. Others just attacked them for having poor designs, which is fair, alright? You know what, they can't all be winners. Sometimes you get Druddigan, sometimes you get Cryogonal. The only thing that the fans really did like was the plot, but the damage was done. Word had spread about the game, and its initially promising sales numbers dipped after the first month. Black and White went on to become the worst-selling mainline Pokemon game of all time, having sold only 15.64 million copies total. Now, that might sound like a big number, but Diamond and Pearl had managed to sell 17.67 million copies. That's a difference of $19 million when adjusted for inflation. That's like 19 small loans. Financially, the game was a success, but they didn't make the amount of money they had hoped for. This was a time when Pokemon's fanbase was massive and included a wide range of ages. This was meant to be a game that would appeal to both young and old fans equally and bring back those who had graduated from Pokemon. Hypothetically, this game should have had the highest sales numbers as it was meant for everyone in the fanbase, but it didn't. Game Freak's hard work was all for nothing. So, why am I talking about this? I don't really know. I guess I'm bringing it up because I feel the failure of Black and White was the reason why it took Game Freak until 2021 to make a new Pokemon game that broke conventions and tried to deviate from the Pokemon format. I guess the moral of the story is that companies will really only listen to your wallets, so it's important to only buy products that you think are worthy of supporting and choose not to pay for those that you don't. Especially if those games have the same graphics as the Playmobil movie starring Daniel f***ing Radcliffe. You had your pasta, a little bit of macaroni, and for those emotional moments, they hit you with that fettuccine.